Hello, and welcome to another installment of What the Hell is the Human Experience? So I was watching back the last video that I made and realized that I kind of glazed over a very important thing. So out of the 3 steps that I went over in how to connect more deeply to your most authentic self, step number 1 is getting to know yourself. Now, I personally have spent the last 4 years or so really working at this, So for me, it feels somewhat simple now. But looking back at where I started, it's been a very difficult journey. Very, very difficult. And it was really hard at first. Really, really hard at first. I didn't know where to start. So I figured it might be helpful to share what I started doing, where I actually started when it came to getting to know myself. Because if I'm being honest, I really had absolutely no clue who I was. I only have a slightly better idea, but I've gone a lot of different directions to get where I am right now. But it's been very, very helpful. So I'm sure what I have to share will benefit somebody. So I'm going to share 3 things that I started doing. What did I say? 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when I started this journey. The way I started it was the first thing I did, I took myself on dates. Date yourself. That is such a weird concept. People do not do it enough, but it is so hugely impactful. I started by just taking myself out to breakfast once a week. I would, at first I just went to the same cafe just to dip my toes in, get comfortable with just the fact that I was taking myself out to eat by myself. Very strange. I don't know about you, but for me, that was really weird. That was really weird. That was really hard to do. I felt very uncomfortable the first few times, but after the 3rd time, I was thoroughly enjoying myself. I loved it. It was awesome. I still do this. It's great. I mean, we're in a pandemic right now, so I don't really leave my house at all. But I still love the idea of going out and taking myself on dates. Now I just go on solo adventures in nature without other humans around instead of going to restaurants. But, it's cool. So dating yourself, taking yourself out to a restaurant, and it doesn't even have to be that. That is good for me because I love food. And I love going to new restaurants. So I started by taking myself to the same cafe once a week for maybe a month or 2. I did this. And then I started branching out a little bit. I would find new restaurants that I wanted to try out that I'd never been to before, which was easy because this was right after I moved to California. I didn't know anybody. There were a lot of places I hadn't been to before. So I just started finding things that looked intriguing, that looked delicious, and I would just take myself out there, have some delicious food by myself, and really just soak in every moment, and it was amazing. So that I highly recommend. Dating yourself is awesome. You get to adventure some new places by yourself. Just get comfortable with your own company, which can really make people uncomfortable sometimes, but it's very important that you can be happy just being by yourself with just your own company. That's huge. So you get to adventure new places, get to get comfortable with being in just your own company, and you get to eat great food. Take yourself out to an awesome restaurant. Take yourself to a freaking museum. If you're a nerd like me, go to the nearest science museum. Just geek out on everything by yourself. And going alone to a museum is the best because you can soak in whatever you want for as long as you want. You can stare at whatever you want, not people that are there, but exhibits. You can just sit on a bench, stare at a skeleton, and just admire for an hour if you want. No one's going to be nipping at your heels like, can we go? I don't want to look at this anymore. I'm bored. You're by yourself. Go at your own pace. Do what you want. Do what you want. It's awesome. So that's that one. The second one is challenge yourself to do new things, as if taking yourself out on dates isn't enough. Get out of your freaking comfort zone. So outside of taking myself on dates, the way I would get myself out of my own comfort zone was I would go on solo hikes, which for me, I thought was totally fine. I still do. I still do this. A lot of other people thought it was pretty risky for me to go on hikes by myself in places I've never been to. Maybe, but what am I going to do? Just stay inside all the time? Like, no. Pandemic has changed those circumstances, but pre-pandemic, I was just adventuring all over the freaking place by myself. It's awesome, okay? Being independent and just like flying by the seat of your pants, doing whatever the hell you want all the time, it's great, okay? I can't recommend it enough. I really can't. But that, for me, was a really good way to push beyond my limits and step outside my comfort zone. I would, again, once a week, the same day I would take myself to breakfast. I usually would take myself to breakfast because that would give me a reason to leave the house in the morning. I would start by going to yoga in the morning, going to a new cafe or restaurant or whatever and take myself to breakfast, and then scope out a place to adventure to and go hike by myself and just make a whole day out of taking myself on a date. And it's honestly the most recharging, re-energizing, which is the same thing as recharging, but it's rejuvenating, all the words. It's so great. It really brings you back home to yourself and sets you up for success for the rest of your week and really gives you something to look forward to, which is always exciting and adds this whole energy of excitement to your entire week. I really recommend doing this at least once a week. Take yourself on a date once a week. You might have to get creative with the pandemic. You can just, instead of taking yourself out to a restaurant, if that's not possible, or if that is not something you're willing to do given the current economic circumstances, I get it. You can just plan a romantic dinner for yourself, which is what I've turned my date days into, which is also pretty awesome. You just queue up a movie, make yourself some amazing dinner, and just sit and enjoy the time by yourself, a good movie, and some good food that you made for yourself. It's no solo hike, but it's pretty awesome. So stepping outside of your comfort zone and going solo hiking, I would go to places I've never been to before. Again, I use the All Trails app. I don't know if you've heard of it. If you've used it before, you know. If you know, you know. It's awesome. I would use that to find trails that just looked enticing, and I would look at the shape of the trail. I didn't typically go for the out and back kind of trails. I want like a loop. Give me some variety on my journey. I don't want to go out and then see the same stuff on my way back to my car. I want a loop so I can see all new things the entire time I'm hiking. But that's just me, whatever. It's all your preference. So that is a really good way to get to know yourself as well, especially because connecting to nature is a really good way to connect to yourself. Just the stillness of the world and the beauty of nature really brings you back down to earth, literally and metaphorically. You're connecting to the earth. It's hugely profound. And making a practice of doing this once a week really compounds into changing the way you think, the way you start to feel on a regular basis, instead of feeling all like neurotic and sporadic and just like overwhelmed with this anxious energy. You start to notice that you feel calm more often. You start to feel calmer more regularly. And if something that used to really throw you off kilter a lot or send you into an anxiety spiral, if something like that happens, you catch yourself being able to navigate that situation in a much more level-headed way than you could before you started hiking once a week. It's crazy how it really just, I was going to say humbles your life. I guess that's, ooh, my light almost fell over. Crisis averted. Thank God I go hiking. Yeah. So that's tip number 2 for this one. Number three is to express yourself. Express yourself in whatever way you feel most called to. A lot of people like to draw or create art with your hands, sculpt clay, paint, color, doodle, journal. There are a lot of ways to express yourself. For me, journaling works really well because it forces me to really think out my emotions. You can think about what you're feeling a lot, but it just turns into jumbled mumbo jumbo going on in your head, and you're not really deciphering or taking anything from like what is going on. But if you write down your feelings, it forces you to really thoroughly think out and at the same time process how you're feeling. So for me it's a good way to just take my emotions from in here to paper and really decipher what I'm feeling on all levels. But I mean, every human is a manifestation. This is going to get metaphysical. Every human is a physical manifestation of the universe expressing itself. We are creations of the universe. So in turn, we are also creators. So creating something, expressing through art in some form or fashion, writing, painting, playing music is a really good one as well. Just creating in any kind of way really helps us tap into ourselves, whether we're consciously aware of the fact that we're tapping into ourselves in that moment or not. It is us also coming home to ourselves. The more we have that outlet, the less that is stuck just whirling around inside and compounding and making us just feel like unnerved and uneasy all the time. It's like the grounding of hiking, just being connected to the earth, helps bring all that crazy energy down, and then playing music or sitting down and coloring or drawing, journaling, it all like works together to help um, quiet or calm the chaos that can go on in our heads, in our minds, that keeps us from really understanding who and what is underneath all of that. Because we are not our minds, we are not our thoughts, we are what lies beneath all of that, but we cannot see or hear us through all the craziness if we do not have an outlet to get all of that out. It's like your dog left home for 40 hours a week while you're at work, and your dog, when you come home, is just wild, off the walls, has so much energy, and you just could not be more annoyed because you've spent all your energy at work already and your dog just wants all of your attention. So when you get home, you don't actually have a dog. That dog is just your mind. Now that you don't have work as a distraction, your brain is going crazy, off the walls. It hasn't had a constructive outlet all day. It's just been getting the life sucked out of it. I'm not knocking your job, but most jobs do this. They suck the life out of you. And then when you get home, your mind is just like going nuts. And you don't have the energy or capacity to really even get back home to yourself and calm yourself down. You take your literal dog for a walk to calm it down and to get its energy out. What do you do for your mind when your mind is going crazy, like a really energetic dog? You sit in front of the TV. That's not displacing any of that energy. That is just distracting yourself from it. So doing things that actually get that energy out in a constructive way and quell that chaos. Don't just like mask it with a TV show or junk food or whatever, social media. If you actually vent it into something constructive, like taking yourself on a date and planning a date for yourself, taking yourself on a hike or just a walk around your neighborhood or whatever, something simple, doesn't have to be extravagant, and or learning how to play. It's about to get real stupid. Learning how to play an instrument as if you were in an orchestra. No, freaking doodle for all I care. Okay, just like take it at a basic level to get started. But even if you make a habit of watching TV all day, every day, if you just start doodling or writing things down during the commercials, that'll still give you a little bit of an outlet to bring yourself down. Instead of getting caught up in the stupid stories of what's going on in the commercials or what's going on in the TV show, you pause all of that for a moment, bring your focus to something that really connects to your spirit. Just get an adult coloring book. They're awesome. I have 4. So many colored pencils and gel pens. It's great. It helps. So I think I've rambled enough. These are some of the things that can definitely help quiet the chaos that goes on in here on a regular basis, just take that away. Just shh. Sit over there for a minute or 12. I don't need you anymore, chaos. Okay, bye. Connect with some art, some good food. I love food. Some good food. What was the other thing I said? Some nature. Connect with some freaking trees. Even if you stick your head out your goddamn window because COVID, you don't have to leave your whole house entirely. But if you stick your head out the window, just let some fresh air in here, okay? Just let some fresh air in your house. That helps tremendously too. I work from home now. I get real cooped up in here. Sometimes I just cannot. I just can't deal. I still get affected by the human experience, of course. But opening my slider and I just realized I only have one window in here other than the slider in my living room. Opening up my one window and my slider and just letting fresh air inside is just like so nourishing to my soul. Do that every once in a while. If you have a little outdoor space, utilize it. Man, the pandemic really throws things off, doesn't it? There are ways to adapt and to still be okay. So anyway, these are my things. These are my tips. These are the practices that I use to help me stay a sane, well-functioning human being in the world, quelling the chaos that can go on in our minds sometimes, and really staying in touch with myself, getting to know myself. So if you have any other ways that you would like to share, that you get in touch with yourself, how do you connect with nature? Do you take yourself on dates? Where do you go? What do you do? Do you go to museums like I did that one time? I mostly take myself to restaurants. I did go to a museum once and it was amazing. Society permitting, once I can do that more, I will 100% go to more museums around here. I've only been to one and I live in the Dallas area. There's so many things to see here. I want to see more. What do you do? Have you taken yourself to a museum? Where do you live? What museum did you go to? Because now I'm like on this whole museum thing. Let's talk about those some more. They're really underrated. Museums are freaking awesome. What kind of hikes do you like to go on? I didn't even mention that part. I used to go to hikes in the woods. That sounds really just super, like, duh, obviously, like, where else do you hike? But, like, in California, I was very surprised. It was difficult for me to find hikes in the woods. I grew up in Massachusetts, like, you're basically just in the forest all the time. Like, the only thing that's not in the forest is like a shopping plaza. You get your groceries, then you go back into the woods. In California, I lived in Long Beach. You're basically in a city / beach / desert. Really hard pressed to find a good tree hike. Where do you like to hike? Do you like the desert? Do you like the trees? Do you go for like beach hikes? All of them are pretty cool. The trees are my favorite. I love trees. And what kind of mediums do you use to express yourself in general? Do you use art? Do you make pottery? Because that's cool, I think. I think that's really cool. Do you play an instrument? What kind of instrument do you play? Let's share. Leave me some comments. Leave me some feedback. I'd appreciate it. That's all I have for you right now. I could probably ramble some more, but I won't, so I'll leave you with that. All right. As always, I love you very much. Thank you for watching me ramble. I hope you took something from this. I hope you can relate to it a little bit, or a lot would be great. But if you just took a little, that's cool too. I love you. Have a great day. Namaste.